Let's talk about Jeremiah Smith and whether or not Dez Bryant has a point about this. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If that is something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you believe Dez Bryant has a point about what Adidas is doing in the name, image, and likeness game? More importantly, what Nike is not doing. I'm also going to take this opportunity to remind you we got an audio podcast on Apple and Spotify. And if you go to Apple and you go to Spotify and you leave us a 5-star review, I will send you one of these stickers right here in the mail with a personal handwritten thank you note from me, because it means that much to me. All you got to do is hit those 5-star reviews in at Apple, Spotify, hit the form in the description below, and let me send you a sticker. So, in the same story where we learned that Jeremiah Smith ain't planning to lose to Michigan for the rest of his Ohio State career, we also learned that Jeremiah Smith has signed a contract with Adidas as a representative. Now, makes sense for him. He said, look, I've worn Adidas all my life. I think Adidas are cool. And this is Adidas getting, in my estimation, the Michael Jordan that they always wanted. For those of y'all that have seen Shoe Dog, which is about Phil Knight and Nike and the rise of that company, you will know that Adidas was the shoe to wear when Michael Jordan was coming out of North Carolina. Michael Jordan was planning to wear Adidas in the NBA, and he was planning to sign with Adidas in the NBA. But the story goes that, yeah, you had Phil Knight and a team, right, basically run by Sonny, who went and recruited the hell out of Michael Jordan by getting to his mama who's smarter than everybody else in the room, and saying, it's just a shoe until my kid wears it. Betting on the person wearing the shoe and not the shoe itself. Now we all got Jordans. And that's what we call them. We don't call them Nikes. Nikes are something else entirely, right? We call them Jordans. We call them LeBrons. We call them Kyries. We call them KDs. We call them Ja Morants. We call them Kobe's. We do not call them Nikes. Nikes are what your mama used to wear to go pick you up from school. Nikes is what you see the lady that is doing the 40-minute 5K wear. Nikes is a very cool shoe to set off the fit. They ain't Jordans. They're just not. My Space Jam 11s are some of my prized possessions. My Miles Moraleses are some of my prized possessions. My Spider-Mans are some of, with the blue bottoms, some of my prized possessions. I got the Sham Gods. They don't really leave the house. My prized possessions. We got Jeremiah Smith wearing a shoe now. I expect to see Nike get behind him and that shoe. Adidas get behind him and that shoe. I expect to see Adidas start making moves like they did with Tristan Keys, 5-star wide receiver at Hattiesburg High. Dez Bryant goes to Twitter and he says, Nike is absolutely missing the boat on this. He was a little bit more critical. Adidas is coming for that spot. Now, I think Dez has got a point here. Because we all know that Jeremiah Smith is the best player in the sport. It goes Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs on the EA Sports College Football 26 ratings, right? We talk about quarterbacks because we have to. It is the most important position in the sport, so Arch Manning's going to get his due. Julian Saint's going to get his due. Garrett Nussmeier's going to get his due. Carson Beck, Miami. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. Drew Aller at Penn State. Dante Moore hasn't really played that much at Oregon because of quarterbacks. But Ryan Williams, you take him before you take most, and that's what you're contending with. Adidas has representation, or I should say have people that are going, oh, we see it now. We see the vision. So now you have Jeremiah Smith, who is both a Red Bull athlete, one of just two in college, the other being Arch Manning, and an Adidas athlete. That's how you draw it up. And you have a guy who's only getting better, only getting bigger, only getting stronger. His sophomore year is probably going to be better than his first freshman year. And his freshman year had 76 catches, over 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, won a national championship. You can do a whole hell of a lot worse than what Jeremiah Smith has been able to do. And the fact that Adidas was able to outrun Nike also speaks to this. Remember, Phil Knight went to Oregon. Remember that Oregon is Tracktown, USA, right? Remember that Oregon is where you go when you want to win gold medals. It is not where you go when you want to win national championships in football. Phil Knight, with all the money that he has sunk in that program over the last 2.5 decades, has not won a national championship. They've come close. Chip Kelly era came close. They're getting closer. Dan Lanning, they went into last year with the number 1 seed, number 1 team in the country. They had beaten Ohio State, which means they beat the national champions when it wasn't time to play for the belt. If you are Phil Knight and now you've missed on Jeremiah Smith, you know what Oregon should be doing given the money that you got. And you live in an era where money matters, where you can buy players. Ask Texas Tech how a billionaire is helping them out. Ask Oklahoma State how Boone Pickens, the late Boone Pickens, would helping them out before we could do all of this. You know how much stronger Oklahoma State would be if Boone Pickens could have paid players off the rip? The fact that you aren't able to do this, the fact that we give more air to Colorado and Deion Sanders than we do what Oregon might or might not do, also speaks to why Jeremiah Smith is an Adidas athlete, not a Nike one. Sometimes you have to do what Sonny was doing. You got to go to somebody's house. You got to show up unannounced. Even when representation said, I will absolutely come for your behind if you do this behind my back. You got to risk it. You do. You have to risk it. You have to bet on that athlete, which is one of the difficult things to do in the world, because I believe it's easier to bet on yourself because you know what you're capable of. You know that I got to get it done. Like, one of the things that I always remind people of when I do my job and even around in life is no wife, no kids. My parents are my parents and I love them, but they're just not in that position right now, right? My sister, same difference. Point is, if I miss, it's all on me. But if you miss and I bet on you, that's even more frightening because I got no control over that. None. I can bust my behind. I can grind this out, right? I know that I'm going to show up. Showing up being the most important thing in the world. Be Steve Rogers, the guy that hates bullies, the guy that doesn't want to finish a fight. He just wants to get his people to safety. The guy that can do this all day and will show up for you every day, who just wants to do the right thing. That's where I live. I'm going to take this plane down because that's the right thing to do. And then we'll find out what the reward is like. It's why Aristea is tattooed on my forearms. It's not that I expect Athena to grant me that excellence, because I have risked it all and I have played it out and I am dying on the battlefield. It is to say, she can pass over me and not give me that Aristea. That's the bet. And let me tell you, in my life, she's passed over me more than once. But the only way to achieve the goal is to risk it all, is to leap, is to go. And in that way, I can bring it back to what I believe is the patron saint of all athletes. And I mean this sincerely. Steve Prefontaine, who ran at Oregon. I got to stop pre-shirt that I need to start wearing more. Scrawny kid from Coos Bay, one leg shorter than the other, who just had a gas tank and could just go. That was his gift. His gift was he could just keep running and run and run and run. Highest VO2 max in recorded history. But he front ran, which is the hardest thing to do in the world. It means he ran all out and he broke the wind for everybody else in front of it in a 3.2 mile or 3.1 mile race, 5K. Bowerman hated that crap, hated it, because he thought Pre should win more races and be faster if only he would follow the strategy. And Pre would say, no. To do anything less than my best is to sacrifice the gift. Give it to somebody else. You should have given it to somebody else, because I'm not willing to take it all the way. Pre took it all the way, and we lost him far too soon, man. Damn it. I wanted that Montreal for him, and I wasn't even there. I wasn't even around for that. predates me by like 11 years. Adidas did something that Nike wouldn't do. Full stop. Adidas got the prize. That's what it takes. It takes everything. Risk everything, and you might get nothing. Or you might get the greatest college football player on earth today.